This is the Maryhill Burgh Halls. You might not know it, but this building was once the heart of a Maryhill that existed in its own right, separate from Glasgow. It hosted heavy industry, it was a military hub, and it was home to a wide range of communities and cultures. It's not really known for it now, but Maryhill has one of the most varied histories of any urban area in Scotland, much of which has been forgotten as the district's seen its industries and landscape change over the centuries. Today, the Burgh Halls serve as a focal point of this history and as a symbol of the area's ongoing renewal. They were originally opened in 1878 and designed in the French Renaissance style by architect Duncan Macnaughton. Between the 18th and 19th centuries, Maryhill had gone from a sparsely populated and struggling agricultural estate to a bustling and rowdy Victorian town on the northwestern edge of Glasgow, one in need of a larger fire and police force.
This whole area was originally a series of small estates, so Garscube, Rockhill, Killermont, Garioch and Gearbraid. The Hill family lived in Gearbraid House, which stood not too far from the halls on the banks of the River Kelvin. When Hugh Hill died, the house and all the surrounding land passed to his daughter Mary, and she made her fortune from the land when Parliament approved the cutting of the Forth and Clyde Canal through the estate in 1768. There was one condition attached to the sale of the land, that any future town would be named after her, and it was in all times to be called the town of Maryhill.
By the mid-1800s, the need for a larger administrative centre, police station and fire station was taken seriously on account of the burgeoning population. In 1856, the area was incorporated as a police borough, with the halls opening 22 years later. The building originally had a wash house, public baths and a courthouse, in addition to the police, fire stations and main public hall. By the time the Burgh Halls were built, the area had loads of established industries. Stephen Adams was considered one of the best stained glass artists in all of Europe at the time and was commissioned to create 20 panels, each depicting industrial Maryhill in the 1870s. This collection of stained glass is a rare breed because it doesn't depict religion or mythology, the main themes in stained glass art at the time. It shows real people doing real jobs in Maryhill to a very fine level of detail. The borough was subsumed by Glasgow in 1891 and the Burgh Halls became decrepit by the 1960s. Surprisingly, while lying derelict, disused and covered in graffiti, the hall survived the demolition-happy decades of post-war Glasgow, times when many other Victorian community spaces were lost and the focus on conserving the city's historic architecture was still to come.
By the 1960s, the halls had fallen into disrepair and concerns were raised about the preservation of the stained glass windows. They were taken into the care of Glasgow museums and for a short time were kept in the People's Palace before being moved to the borough. When the halls reopened in 2012, 11 of the panels were loaned back to us, 10 to be reinstalled in the main hall and the famous canal boatman to take pride of place in the foyer. The other 9 panels remain in storage with Glasgow Life, but we are hopeful in the future that we can swap them with the ones on display here to ensure people get a chance to see the full collection and that the panels get a chance to come home.
In 2004, the Maryhill Burgh Halls Trust was created as a charity with the goal of bringing the halls back into use for the community. In 2009, the halls underwent a £9.2 million refurbishment, reopening to the public in 2012.
The redevelopment turned what was originally the police, fire stations and civic centre into the modern Maryhill Burgh Halls. Today it is home to a nursery, offices and recording studios, as well as a cafe and exhibition space. Original features such as the public hall and stained glass windows were preserved and new features including an open-air courtyard were created. The original wash and bath houses were taken over by Glasgow City Council and formed a new leisure centre run by Glasgow Life.
As well as being a community and office space, the halls have a responsibility to preserve Maryhill's industrial and cultural past. Just as the stained glass panels back in the 1870s were a way to preserve the everyday lives of the workmen and women in Maryhill, so too is the Burgh Hall's heritage work today. Exhibitions on local history, including the barracks and Partick Thistle, historic pieces like these pub signs, are all under our care in our growing collection of Maryhill artefacts. We're working towards having a permanent display and exhibition space in the halls, where we can ensure that Maryhill's rich and at-risk history is always accessible to everybody who lives here. Beyond the Burgh Halls building itself, we also take our heritage work on the road, giving talks at other historic buildings in our current Talking Maryhill series. The aim of all this is to conserve the area's heritage so that it will never be neglected in the same way that the halls once were. From the artefacts we hold to the living memories of local people, the Borough of Maryhill's original motto was "We gather strength as we go." Still quite a fitting motto for the story of the halls and the future of Maryhill.
And I wish I was back there, but fate can be cruel. If you're ever one day up a Maryhill way, if you find yourself in the high country,